Hey, what's up, guys? It's Archon here, and today I'm gonna do something that I haven't done before, but I think I'm gonna start doing it from now on. I'm gonna review a movie, and it was just something I figured I was gonna kind of wanted to start doing. I don't know if I'm gonna like review older movies or if I just gonna, you know what? You guys can leave comments below and tell me what movies you think I should review. Like old movies, new movies, and yeah, whatever you guys want. I'll probably review some movies that I really like, and some that I think are pretty dumb, just because like movies I've seen before that are already out on DVD or whatever. But anyway, that's not important. The movie I'm reviewing is a movie I went to see earlier today, and that movie is The Hobbit. And I'm gonna tell you guys right now, I loved The Hobbit. Like, this isn't gonna be the whole review. Like, I'm gonna review that I'm actually gonna review it, but I'm gonna say right off the bat, The Hobbit was fantastic. Okay, if you haven't seen it, I would definitely recommend going to see it. The visual effects are great, acting is great, everything you'd expect from like a Peter Jackson movie. I mean, it's perfect. Like, it goes with the Lord of the Rings so perfectly, and the okay, let's see, what should we start off with? Uh, let's start off with one of the bad things about The Hobbit. One of the bad things is instead of having like people actually dress up and wear tons of makeup and be like the orcs or the Uruk-hai and all that, they actually did most of it in CGI. I mean, sometimes they actually do have the actors in makeup, and I like that. Like, I prefer to have the actors in makeup and stuff. But a lot of the times they're not really actors; they just CGI in characters, and that kind of bummed me out. But I mean, it was still great. I mean, the effects were still awesome. Like, it didn't look quite as real, but it still looked pretty real. And another downside was the runtime was kind of a bummer. It was a 3 hour long movie, and yeah, 3 hours was a long time to sit in that theater. But I mean, the first hour or so was kind of boring, but I mean, there was enough stuff in that first hour to keep you sitting there and wanting to see what was going to happen next. Like, it wasn't boring to the point of you're like, oh my god, I wish this movie would be over. It was like boring to the point where you were like, okay, it's kind of boring right now, but I know there's going to be something exciting that's going to come up. So you knew you wanted to stay there to see what was going to happen. And I mean, that's kind of how Lord of the Rings movies went too. There's boring parts because I mean, technically it is a movie about walking to a mountain. I mean, that's basically what The Hobbit is as well. They're walking to the dwarven city that Smaug has taken over to try and get it back. And so yeah, I think that's pretty much all the only problems I had with the movie itself. So let's get on to the good things. All right, the actors. Martin Freeman was a perfect choice for a young Bilbo. I mean, like, I was kind of skeptical at first because I hadn't really heard of him. I mean, I seen him on The Office UK and stuff like that. Uh, but other than that, I was kind of skeptical. Like, I was like, oh, is this guy gonna be a good Bilbo? But after the movie, I thought to myself, and there was nobody else that I could think of that would make a better Bilbo for that movie. He was a great, great Bilbo, and I think Ian McKellen as Gandalf, obviously still a great choice, but this movie he seemed like a lot. I don't know if it was like he seemed darker or just meaner, or less patient. I don't know, something about him. He wasn't the same Gandalf as I remember from Lord of the Rings, but still, anyway, fantastic actor. Gandalf was great in the movie, obviously. But I would have to say, in the whole bunch of actors that are in that movie, the one that really stuck out to me was Richard Armitage as Thorin, because he did fantastic. He was the best actor in that whole movie. If that's my opinion. I mean, you guys could say like Bilbo's your favorite, Philly, Killy, like any of the dwarves could be your favorites. Thorin was my favorite character in that whole movie. I mean, just the way that like he's like this battle hardened like dwarf that he doesn't trust the elves because they didn't help him, and like he doesn't expect Bilbo to become like this savior hero guy. And in the end, you see him. This is a big. I'm kind of making a spoiler, but I'm gonna put spoiler alert in the title. But in the end, he really sees Bilbo as like how he became this hero, and he realized how wrong he was about Bilbo. And just seeing like the development of his character from like not trusting Bilbo at all and not wanting him to even go on this quest with them to like being like, oh, this guy was a great choice to be with us. He saved my life, you know. Like that was awesome to see. So yeah, Thorin was my favorite character. Uh, and now I'm gonna talk about like my favorite scenes from the movie. The first scene that really stuck out to me was in Bilbo's house in Bag End when all the dwarves are there and they start. Obviously, this is gonna be like a part that everybody can remember, but when they start singing their song, you know, he's like far over, like that was just a great. I love that. Like the dwarves' voices worked so well together in that song. I love that scene. Like I saw it in the trailer, and I always thought ever since I saw the trailer, I was like, wow, that was a cool little scene. And then to actually see the whole thing and how it like came together like that, I love the dwarves singing. So yeah, that part was great. Let's see what other scene was there. There's one scene that I really can't wait to talk about, but another scene that I really enjoyed was the scene where Radagast the Brown he finds his little hedgehog laying on the ground and it's like really sick and he has to he picks it up and he runs back to his house and he's trying all these different things to make his hedgehog feel better and none of it's working and like it starts to get really dark and the spiders start to walk all around his house, you know, like they're crawling up his house and all that. And he's sitting there and he holds his little hedgehog who's died now. And he takes this thing out of his staff. I'm not quite sure what that was. And he's holding his hedgehog and he brings it back to life. Like he takes everything, all the dark magic that was killing his hedgehog. It all comes out of the hedgehog and into his little stone that he has. And I don't know why I like that scene so much, but it was really cool. How I really don't know. I just like that scene. But okay, we got through all those. My favorite scene of this entire movie. So Bilbo and all the dwarves have just left Rivendell, and Gandalf stayed there. He knew they were leaving, but he didn't want to say anything to Elrond or anybody that was there. So the dwarves left without telling anybody, and they're walking to the Lonely Mountain. They're on their way to the Lonely Mountain, and they're on this little path, right, on the outside of a mountain, and you know, it's like it starts to storm and rain, and out of nowhere, this huge, like, incredible, like, house-sized boulder flies out of nowhere and hits the mountain that they're like walking across. Like it's just a tiny little pathway. It's super narrow, and they have to like hug up against the mountain and like scatter or like just shuffle across it. And this huge boulder just hits on top of the mountain, and they all look over, and this like gigantic skyscraper-sized rock giant stands up, and he's like picking up these rocks and he's tossing them, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's a rock giant!" And they look over to the right, and there's another rock giant that starts moving too, right? And they're like, "Oh my God!" And they're all freaking out, and the mountain that they're on, like the little pathway they're on, starts to split apart, and half of them are on one side and half are on the other. And it stands up, and they're on the knees of this gigantic rock creature that gets up, and the other rock creature walks towards it, and they have this huge fight, and like, it was probably the coolest thing I'm not kidding you guys, it was the best battle scene I've seen in any movie ever. Like, that was the coolest thing I have ever seen, is these two rock giants just going at it, while the dwarves and Bilbo are trying to figure out a way to get off of the thing's knees, you know? Like, there was nothing cooler to me than that. It was a huge battle, and I loved it. I really don't know what about that scene made me love it so much. It was so cool, like, the way it panned out. And the rock giant, like, it takes a huge boulder and throws it at the other one, and it hits its face and just knocks its head clean off of its body. And, like, all the dwarves and Bilbo, they jump from the knee of the one to, like, a completely different pathway. And obviously they get out, right? but like that's where Thorin kind of like flips out on Bilbo and he's like, "You should have never been here. He's been lost since we left his home." And like, you know, that's also what makes that scene so cool. But yeah, those rock giants were the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was fucking incredible to see them, just these huge creatures to just go at it and know that these tiny little guys are on their knees and the rock giants have no clue what they're actually doing. And it was just insane. And then obviously another great scene is when they're escaping from Mirkwood, you know, where all the little goblins are. And the scene with Gollum. I mean, how can you not love Gollum at this point? Like we've been waiting to see Gollum since the start of that movie, and it's close to the end, and you finally get to see him, and it's the like they do the riddle thing, and it's just it was just a great scene. Just because like I read the book and I read the part where they tell the riddles to each other, but to see that actually come to life and have them telling each other the riddles like that, that was just incredible. I loved it. And obviously the little final battle that goes on, and the Eagles show up. The Eagles make a comeback, and seeing Bilbo save Thorin, that was a great part to put in there. But this video is getting pretty long, so I think I'm gonna wrap up this review. So all in all, The Hobbit, a pretty long movie, slightly boring in some points, but the payoff is definitely worth it. So I think all in all, I'm going to give The Hobbit a 9 out of 10 for my rating. I mean, you know, feel free to speak what your opinions are on the movie in the comments, you know. I actually went and saw it with Wretched. Me and him went and saw it at like 4 o'clock today. And yeah, it's almost a 3-hour movie. It's like 2 hours and 52 minutes or something like that. But it was definitely worth it, you know. And we saw it in 3D too. The 3D was incredible. That was great. Yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, or even if you're not, go see this movie, because this is just a great movie. It's good for everybody. But yeah, so you know, like this video, comment what you thought about the movie in the description, or comment in the description. Comment below what you thought of the movie, what other movies you think I should review, you know, recommend some movies to me. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I will see you guys later. Bye guys.